preparing the live stream.
You are live streaming now. So 7:31. July 11th, council meeting order.
Give us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Ryan, roll call. Check your mic. All right, roll call, Ryan.
Let's see, Cosgray is absent. Foreman,
Present.
Keller,
Present.
McCreary,
Present.
Reedy,
Present.
Schaffner.
Present. Move on to approval of the June 27th, 2022 minutes.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes of June 27th, 2022.
Foreman seconds.
Discussion. Roll call.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes. On to the agenda, there is an agenda amendment for a first reading to add ordinance 2022-22, which is an ordinance authorizing the village administrator to village of Baltimore and reading the person school district and provision school resource officer declaration of emergency that did go to committee sponsor, and that would be query, so we just add that to the first readings on the agenda.
I'll move that we approve the agenda as amended. Foreman seconds.
Roll call.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
McCreary,
Yes.
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes. Visitors, there's no online or here, so we'll go on. I'm going to keep mine short on one subject and it'll segue into Terry. So last weekend was 4th of July. And we had any fireworks going on for the 4th of July. And I knew we would have a lot of fireworks. I was prepared for that. Being a responsible dog owner, I knew that I needed to keep my dogs inside and they'd be a little nervous and stuff like that. And it was a little loud, crazy, and hectic. That said, I realized that I used to do fireworks shows myself, but I realized that at 20 years old, I was more responsible than some of the people in the village. Because I had to go out and clean up my yard, or out my dogs out in the morning and shoot the light. Sorry, I got a prop.
Prop.
A prop.
Does.
Must have landed in his yard.
Must have.
Not in my yard. On your house? On my deck next to me. And that's big. And that's when I said, okay, this is probably a problem. It's not safe for me to stand in my own yard. My dogs happen to go out on a leash, but cleaning up my yard, okay. But now I'm standing on my deck and this lane's next to me. And they were being shot off from the house about 3 down. So I know other neighbors had stuff. If Wade were here, he's on the other side of the people that were setting them off. But I know it just wasn't me and my neighborhood. So that's where I'll segue it to Terry to fill us in on some of it. I think, I knew it was going to be an issue. I know the chief knew it was going to be an issue. And we have a problem with enforcement. I mean, there is some enforcement issues there. But a lot of the municipalities that have firework regulations also use them as a deterrent. You're not going to catch everybody that's doing it, but some people are going to say, I'll take my fireworks off. So I think it's something safety should probably look at. Because I know, at least I know now not to enjoy my own backyard next 4th of July. Because, I mean, yeah.
There was a lot going on at your place because I was over at Lisa's and
Yes, I
I
mean,
could see.
it was, so it was my neighbors a couple down, there was one back on Cliff Street, there were people out on Canal Street, they were outside. It sounded like there was a bunch coming from down Holder Road, and then you missed it. I feel bad because I did not serve and have never been in a wartime thing, but when I see that saying, be respectful of your fireworks because it can trigger some, and I'm standing in my backyard, I've never been in that type of situation, but I can see how it can be very triggering for some. So, that's just my little spiel. I'll let Terry take the-
We got a lot of complaints from all the sections of town. It wasn't just, in the east. One of the most concerning was up in the Oak, Kumler, Yenser, that it was like just falling on top of roofs and everything. So, I agree with the mayor. I think we need to take this to the safety committee as an item for the next safety committee to talk about how we want to proceed.
But it is ultimately a council decision. So if you guys think we should put it on safety, then we'll put it on safety. If not, we want to have them. I've said it like this. Until
Do
next 4th of July. then
Do
I'll
you
say it.
believe it's a novelty thing? It's like,
It'll be worse
woo,
this
we
year
can
than
do
it
it.
will in future years.
I thought
Yeah.
it was worse. I honestly thought it was worse last year. I mean, on our side of town, but I don't know, it didn't seem to bother me that much.
And
That's,
the law didn't change much. I mean, it was illegal.
yeah, well, yeah. But I'm not saying that I don't think we should address it. I'm just saying I didn't think it was as bad.
It's unsafe. Safety wanted.
Well, we'll put it on there, but
Surface.
Not if you don't want it.
I do think about it if it's a home in the middle of a more congested,
Yes. a smaller lot.
closely or densely populated neighborhood. So there's a difference between even the yards where you have, because there's a whole lot of expanse back in there, versus Liberty Street, where those yards are postage size, stamp size.
I'm gonna make an ordinance for this part now.
But yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
So
you
that's
can't
why
do
I'm
that.
like, I have mixed feelings, but I mean, I think about if it would land, I don't know, what's the risk if a hot one lands on, I think about the little house across the street, from me, the little gray house, old house. I don't know, like, is it possible? I
It would
know
drown
the
in the
shingles
water.
shouldn't, But I do think about that.
Or if it lands on a person.
Yeah, so those kind of things I think about.
What were the complaints
was
noise or shells in their yard?
Projectiles and the question was, so it lands on my roof and I can't get it off and it burns a hole in my roof. Is the village responsible for it or who is responsible for it? Which I thought was a good question. And so, yeah, and the noise past the curfew, I think the governor's law says after 12 and I think it was later than that. Or is it 11?
I think it goes until 11,
And
but
then-
it's a couple of different days. And I will say this, I did not hear many past the allotted time. I mean,
That's
it was
where I
like
got complaints.
boom, 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 11 o'clock, okay, we're done. Until the-
I said
I-
some of
I-
myself, so.
Based on the- you have to abstain.
I like them, but
Based on the amount of fireworks I saw going off,
I do it because
inflation
I
and
hate the
diesel
dog
prices are
park and all
not
that,
a
so I can
problem in this
work.
village. Because people had plenty of disposable income.
Yeah, it didn't help that when you bought $1,000 or more, you got 50% off.
Yeah,
That was crazy.
Is that what they were running up there?
Up there, if you bought
Wow.
more than $1,000 worth, they took 50% off. So
Wow.
people bought $1,000 worth and then took $500, bought another $1,000.
Wow.
that was 100% out, you know.
And
So,
like I said, I used to do fireworks too, and big ones like were landing in my yard, but we took them out to a field.
yeah, I don't think anything we do in this
Outside a
room is gonna change
populated
it.
area.
I really don't.
That's my issue is in a condensed
I love
area.
Fireworks. There was a place I saw them on the corner of 256. As you're coming from Pickerington, there's a residence off to the left, kind of rounding the corner right before Washington Street. And probably 20, 30 guests in their lawn chairs, everybody facing 256, which then I'm thinking, are they really shooting us over? Like 256, like.
Shoot down in the field.
I was thinking the field or the road, or if you get a stray one, it's a car.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
come from a community where we set them off on a farm.
Mhm.
So it's new, at least in my experience, to have them in town, because the McCreary's have a huge show that they put out on the farm on Balls of Western.
And it's.
But
different
it's
than
out on
the-
a farm.
The bottle rockets or the guy that gets one big one and lets it off.
Mhm.
It's, you know.
I don't know, that's, Jack's like.
I'm not sure. It's all right.
So one of the complaints said that he looked at the clock, when it went off and it was 12:15.
So so at least one area of the village had one incident.
And that's saying, no, I find it
Someone.
Like this. Yeah, the time thing is.
It's more the safety thing that I think about versus the time.
Yeah, and I think the time of day, their office is a very long place, so if we do send the police and sheriff.
Yeah.
They're already long.
For the noise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not going to safety then, right?
Yeah, because Wade's the other person. You know, I guarantee he was impacted by it.
Because the guy shooting them off was 3 houses down from me and 2 houses up from Wade.
Like I said, I was just over on Sparger and so I was like, wow, that's impressive.
Well, if it doesn't go to safety,
You're
then what
right, Mark.
happens?
I said, wow.
I can hear my house, I sit out there watching.
Nothing,
See?
so we just forget it.
I mean, if it doesn't go to safety, which is the most appropriate committee for it. I mean, council could take it up as a whole, or it just dies.
Okay, so what happens if we send it to safety? What do they do with it?
So safety.
They just sit there and talk about it?
Could have, well,
More
talk,
detail.
talk about it. in
And
more
maybe do
detail.
nothing, or maybe do present an ordinance.
I know.
Yeah,
Yes.
maybe,
Gotcha.
maybe talk to us or some of the people that complain, talk to people that shot them off. That, you know, safety has its whole range of things and then from doing nothing to some form of ordinance.
And then the ordinance will still have to go to council to be passed.
Is it anything that you have like a public hearing on? So, or people call, that's what I'm asking. I'm like, so I didn't know if that's something where.
And you guys have anything to say?
Well, it'd be a public meeting.
I looked.
They just
I
don't
looked.
care.
They don't care.
That's the- I like that, shit's creepy. They just, nobody
People want to be able to voice
Nobody
exactly what's impacting our, residents, so. I wasn't personally impacted.
She said that all
I
the
do
time.
think about safety, but there are people clearly it truly impacts, so. All you in place there, thoughts and concerns?
I think it should be addressed. I will say that.
Send it to safety.
Send it to safety.
Here comes the.
You don't see.
It's like this.
I thought it was this.
Yeah.
I wasn't shooting them off, so.
So-
would've
I
been,
like
was
them.
out.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I was sleepy sound.
All right, so we'll put it on safety and see where it goes from there.
It may fizzle out.
It may fizzle out.
Oh,
Maybe it's like.
Wow.
All right.
Unintended.
I knew that would get some
Failure.
discussion, so that's all I was gonna talk
Okay.
about. Terry, do you have anything else?
You will find the water consumer confidence report that is a requirement from the EPA every year. Will be at the billing this month. We did have someone call at the pool and took that EMS was called, but they were. It turned out that he was okay. His mother was there when it happened, et cetera. So I had pool manager fill out a report for our residents. This is good news. We have 3 membranes today in Ottawa. So we are moving along. Yep, yep. So they've been doing a lot of acid cleans, a lot of chlorine cleans. They are really focused. So also along that effect, this morning we had, along that line, we had a meeting with Brown and Caldwell, B3, and the team with Gripe. We started at 8 o'clock this morning and got done at noon. So we're going through, they wanted us to lower our limits, raise their limits to be able to discharge, and I am not in agreement with that. I think we have to do a lot of more data research, so I feel comfortable. I told them the number one thing that council was concerned with was communications. And it's not so much that Patrick doesn't communicate, it's just that I believe internally they're not on the same page. But now they've went out and hired Brown and Caldwell, who are specialists in wastewater. So they have a laundry list of things that they're going to do, and they'll be working through B3, and I'll keep you updated. But again, one of the things that they really wanted us to do was to let them increase their discharge, and they're not going to at this time. We just now got 3 membranes running in auto, and I'm excited about that. We did, like I said, we did the final walkthrough, the final walkthrough with B3 today. If you remember, Mrs. Hannah was here about her driveway apron. So we are going to get a quote from Strasser because it was not in the original project about putting concrete aprons in there. As soon as I get that, I'll let you know probably. For service, I will have it. There was a section on Park where there was a lump of what I call the lump of milling, which wouldn't let the water flow. So they're going to come back and they're going to mill that down so that, that water flows through there. Other than that, the project we're pretty happy with. So we'll probably be closing that out relatively soon. Note to council, September 1st, OPWC opens up to accept projects. So at the service meeting in 2 weeks, I'll come back with a couple of things that I think we should consider for a project. In the meantime, if you think of something from what we've talked about in the past, please send me an email and we'll get that in there too. But if we want to apply for OPWC, I understand we have a whole lot going on, but I think, again, we don't want to miss this opportunity. One of the suggestions that came up today as we were talking with B3 is maybe because of the money that we're receiving from the county to put in the water line at Washington that did not include paving, maybe that's the OPWC project we should do then, is do the paving of Washington from end to end after the water lines put in. So food for thought, 2 weeks, we'll talk a little bit more about what we want to do. The Granville Water OPWC project that we were awarded, we're waiting on a survey, as Chet will probably attest to. Survey people are just totally backed up. We need to have a survey so we can submit a PTI to the EPA. Same way with the Monroe water line. So again, we have a lot going on. Still waiting on my instructions from the county for the Washington water line. But at the same time, we're going to go ahead and survey and get all 3 PTIs applied for at once. We talked about Fuller Road and the issue there. I've asked them to give me a project scope of work that they could do for us to figure out or try to at least come to some report out to us. So I look to get that by the end of the week. So they have some ideas and that's good. They started thinking. So by the time we get to service, I should have that timeline of the work of scope that they think they could do to help us in that area.
You talking about Walnut Township here now?
No, I'm talking about B3. At the last meeting, if you remember, I was instructed to have them do an analysis or a look at the project through this because we had some money in the stormwater.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And so I'm waiting on them to come back. If my understanding about Walnut Township is they have now withdrawn and they're not going to do anything
No, they have
No.
changed their mind
again.
again.
Okay.
They invited the group back last week, was
Yes.
it?
Yes.
And they said that they are going to be a good neighbor and I don't know this word for word, but they're gonna be a good neighbor and they're going to see what is in that pipe that sticks up, that's all plugged up, and see what's under the road. I believe there will be people here at the service meeting and you can ask them the details of the whole discussion.
Okay, all right.
But I think the community's coming out.
Good. So maybe by that time, we'll know the direction that B3 wants to
Right.
take it to, because they do agree with me. I believe there's more than one issue over there. And so, we'll see what they have to say. The other thing that I've engaged him at is to review the Sleepy Hollow subdivision. That the council had approved in, I believe it was 2006 or 2008. There is a engineering firm and an investor that is interested in pursuing that subdivision again. So we're doing some background stuff, nothing written in stone or anything. So working on that. And then we talked about I&I, and right now I've challenged them to get me some educational material so that the next building that goes out to the residents will have some information in it about how we're trying to resolve the I&I issue in the village. So last thing, because this is going to make Chuck happy. We applied for a grant through the land bank to tear down the white building across the street. So we got that grant. So the white building that sits across the street, that is the
Oh, this
land
one?
is owned
Yeah.
between the Pine House
Pine
and
House.
between the corner, that is going to be torn down. The issue is going to be, what is he going to do with the land? He approached me and asked me if the council or the village would consider like a community garden. He doesn't want to put a parking lot in, like a community garden or green space. So I think it's something to think about, because I believe Michael will need to know that information too before they start any demolition over there. So maybe at service we can talk about this too, but I think that's very good news for the village.
What are they doing with the Brendan's, the corner?
That they still have
Cushy
plans.
corner, but it's,
Yeah, because,
because Brimstone gone now.
well, I know that her name's still on the.
No, I mean the one out there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you mean the one here?
No,
Right.
here.
Yeah, right
This
there.
is catty
Yeah,
corner.
he's still, that building is still, remember, we made him put on a new roof and put in new windows, so he still has plans to develop that section. of the building. I'm open for questions.
New on Cooler Street. Avenue. Everything okay now or what?
Subject.
Parking.
Oh,
Hell,
thank you. So we just have that done.
If
This
you
is
didn't
been,
ask,
you
I was
heard
going
my
to.
meetings
Oh,
were
you're
like
going
a lot of meetings today. So my last communication with Dr. Johnson was, I expressed your desires, to straighten out the blocks to be curbs, then the village would take angle parking. And I've asked Tim to get with the chief, because the chief said there's such a thing that we can angle a little more. I had went over and measured the green space between the fence and the parking blocks where I wanted to go is 5 foot. He said that's what he needed. And even then I measured the front of Tim's tire to the front of his car, front of the truck, and it was 3.5 feet. So even if his front tire butts up against that block, it's not going to hit the fence. Did mention in one of his emails that they, as soon as the budget allows, they're thinking about putting a sidewalk. So I told him that we have, as you noticed, we did redress the parking lots, because in 2 or 3 weeks, we're going to have them striped. And I told him if he could give me an answer back, and I haven't heard from him since last week, then it would save on a mobilization charge, because mobilization charges are pretty heavy sometimes. So if I hear back from him, then I include that. I think we're coming, unless somebody else is different, I think we're coming to an agreement.
I don't think I have anything else to add tonight.
Just legislation ordinance 2022-22, which is the ordinance authorizing an agreement between the village and the school district for providing an SRO, school resource officer. Did include emergency language because that's the way we've always prepared it, just so that it can go into effect upon its adoption. Are there any services provided chief during the summertime?
No, I mean, not scheduled per se, but they occasionally will call an SCSRO in the staff meeting.
That's it.
Okay, Mayor, we met tonight at 6 o'clock. We did our, usual finance meeting. Everything's in working order. Half a year, so everything looks good that way. The chief brought up about put a new officer on board because we can't get part-time help. And his name was Holmes. Holmes. That full-time. That's about it. Next meeting is August 8th. I think it was 6 o'clock.
Service hasn't met since the last meeting, their next meeting is in 2 weeks.
Our safety did not meet tonight. Our next meeting is July 25th at 6:45. We're meeting following the service.
We met tonight and we discussed evaluation forms, cemetery projects, and time clocks. We also went into executive session and came out at 7:30. Next meeting is August 8th at 6:45.
No, please, chief.
That's right. We talked earlier about the Devon home, the one who's going to be working an overnight shift. Night creepers and also things going on with businesses after closing hours. The previous officer part-time, we'll be able to, just a matter of a couple of months, have them out working. Or one is at the body shop. It's very interesting because they had to cut the whole top off of it. So I told them if they don't have it done by the festival, we'll be driving it convertible. But it's coming along. I think they may have it done by then. We'll get Terry because we're going to have to utilize the red car out here. That's just the way it is. So, let's see what else. We have leach training that we're in the process of doing right now. Tentatively scheduled for the first week of September for firearms training, which is over at the Hickory County Gun Club. And, open invitation if anybody like to come over and see what the training is all about, or whatever. You're certainly welcome to do that. That's all.
All right, fire board.
The fire board has not met since the last meeting. Next meeting, I said it was this week, but I'm pretty sure now it's next week, Thursday, next week.
Moving on, planning and zoning, we were supposed to be meeting this week. Continuing discussions on ponds. Robert's development wasn't ready yet, so that's going to be pushed up to August. And then there was a question about whether or not there's enough people here for a quorum, so this month's meeting has been canceled. August, at which point we look at Robert's plat for final review. Preliminary.
Are you talking about the meeting this Thursday there? That was canceled?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Planning and this week was canceled. We're not.
I was gonna call.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple said they might not be here, one definite one, so. And even if we had it with some of the discussion we want to have, we wanted everybody here. Definitely wanted to before, so nothing pressing when it was canceled. So August though. Should be busy. All right, tree commission.
Our next meeting is Thursday at 5:30.
Records, we haven't had anything. I think I said last meeting, I'm on vacation, I'll probably try to set something for like September-ish.
Yeah, I have a list of records that's on my list to be approved and to be, I guess, destroyed. Also,
So if you've got a list, we could probably look at getting one end of July, early August too.
yeah, that's fine.
Okay. You've got a list.
I have a list ready to go. I also have a question for the committee on some records too, that especially Missy's records, the water and sewer. It doesn't, no, the records we have doesn't fit anything in the schedule. So I don't know where I put those.
So we'll have to figure out where to put
Yeah,
that,
we
or
have a
create a
meeting, we
schedule.
can talk about it.
Yeah. Okay,
Yes, such a good topic.
yeah. So we'll circulate an email and get something scheduled now that we're ready to destroy stuff. Cool. All right. Any motions? All right, first readings. Ordinance 2022-22, which is an ordinance authorizing the administrator and chief police executive agreement between the Board of Alderman and the school district for the school resource officer and the declaration of emergency sponsored agent period.
Yes, as you mentioned, this particular ordinance is going to establish an agreement between the village, the police, and the school district. Yeah, so, within SRO.
We'll make a motion to suspend.
Yes, I would like to
Suspend or
make a
can we
motion to
read it
suspend
three
the three
times?
readings. As there are some
Can we read it 3 times or do you want to start suspend?
I thought we were just suspending technically, so.
Okay, we need to suspend.
Yeah, we need.
Oh, okay.
No, I'll second that motion.
confused me.
Well, I
Need to be done by July.
And with the understanding that we may need to tweak the contract a little bit more, the school district is going to be reviewing it. And they may come back and say, hey, you know, we want to tweak this, but I don't anticipate any major.
Yeah, it's something I was gonna mention, this is something that we've done previously. So,
So there was a motion to suspend.
McCreary.
In a second.
Keller seconds.
Second, all right, so roll call.
That's Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
Crary,
yes,
Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes.
so I would like to make a motion to adopt. I'm making a motion to adopt ordinance 2022-22.
I second it.
Good. I think this is the first time I've done that. Yes.
All right, motion and second for discussion on ordinance 2022-22. And I think even though we need it, there might be amendments, you need it, Brian, because of payment and billing or something.
Well, no, I've already sent them the spreadsheet or a PDF copy of what it would cost them next year. And so they can incorporate it in their budget because that's really what they were wanting.
Okay,
And I've already taken care of all that. It won't affect anything. I bill them quarterly anyway.
Well, you're building them and they're paying that, you should have a contract.
yes.
Yes, I agree.
Yes, okay. All right, any other discussion? All right, roll call.
Foreman,
Yes.
Keller,
Yes.
McCreary, Reedy,
Yes.
Schaffner.
Yes.
All right, 5-0, 22-22. Moving on, second reading, ordinance 2020-20, ordinance amendment chapter 4 of Baltimore County Ordinances, water and wastewater environmental sewer, in order to update the same declaration of emergencies on service one.
Oh, yeah. This one has emergency language, but that's only so it takes effect immediately. We're gonna go ahead and go through it.
All right. So that'll be on for next meeting. Moving on, third reading is done, paperwork. Any old business? Is there any new business?
I've got a few.
Okay.
Pool bathrooms, they were taken care of. The pool bathrooms, they were taken
Yes.
care of.
Yes, we were working with staff on that, yes.
Oh, I guess I should have
And we-
explained what happened. I had a complaint from a citizen, okay, that the pool bathrooms were hideous. They were super dirty. And so I sent it to Terry to, hey, this is what's going on. So I believe someone took care of it and now they're in training.
They're in training, and I think that we're going to have to, when we have that large of crowds, that night for that, when they figured we had 350 to 400
Yeah, you
people, we are going to have a bathroom monitor.
Oh,
That's all
yeah.
there is to it, because it just didn't work. So that is one of our things at the end of the year, when we sit and talk to the pool manager, and Joey and Brian, we'll probably, that's the only way out of it when we have that.
Going back to that pool party, I did call the chief that night. And I know we went over that. Yeah, there's a lot of cars. Yeah, there's a big turnout.
Which is great.
Yeah.
It's wonderful, but it's gotta be,
But we have to look good.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Swimming, right?
Yeah.
It's a party.
I mean, there's a party almost every night.
Yeah. We are very lucky. People do like to have parties there. That's what we want.
My second complaint I got this week, actually not this week, but anyway, what is the rules about chickens?
Okay. Well, the rules about chickens is they cannot be free range. They have to be in a fenced in area. They have to have a permit for both having chickens and the fenced in area. So if there is a complaint about free ranging and they have a permit, then they get a notice. If there's a complaint and they don't have a permit, then they get a letter of violation.
Um,
Oh, yeah, they're only allowed to have 11 chickens and 1 rooster.
Bob Kalish came to me and said that the people beside of him have had chickens that are running all over his backyard and he has to comes and then she has he says they're free range and he says, aren't they supposed to be? And I'm like, I don't know. Let me find out. So he had a complaint. So if he needs to put something in writing, should he just send it to you?
He already has.
Oh.
A couple of times, and I have addressed it.
Oh, okay.
They do have a permit. They did receive a letter that the chickens need to stay in. I think there's a little bit of a misunderstanding between neighbors going on over there.
Yes, there is. I've heard that too.
Because then I had to send him a letter for his hedges. So
Okay.
I'm well aware of it, and they know that they have to keep their chickens in. I think I've got 2 or 3 emails from him, and
I heard
Okay,
that- I heard that Mr. Crow.
Oh, he's just being polite.
No, it's dangerous to bring your chickens right there.
Oh, yeah,
Because
no.
there's a hawk and a baby hawk that live in the trees and.
Oh, nice.
Bob's trees live behind their house. So that's easy. picking.
dogs also like to play with them.
Yes.
The third complaint I got was, and I sent this out, I think yesterday or whatever. I know, it's like a
Welcome to council.
216 West Mulberry.
Oh, we are.
Please, everybody go by there. It is absolutely disgusting. I don't blame Tonda for having a problem with that's what her mom has to look at all the time. I took pictures and I would be happy to share them with you, but everybody should just go there. I mean, she's got bamboo, I believe, bamboo that's higher than her ceiling. She's got apparently clothes that have been hanging there for a year. It's just,
I walked by.
it's horrible.
I walked by after getting that email with the dogs. In the backyard, got some junk in it. I get the clothes hanging, but I mean, I don't know that we can do it without the clothes hanging.
Well,
Because, I mean, if they've been a year, but I mean, we're not gonna go, oh, you had this out yesterday, why didn't you pull it off the clothesline? But the backyard has some work to be done. There was some tall shrubs and issues there with the grass.
yeah, it's
Is that a rental?
in my,
Yeah.
apparently
It's not a rental. This property, if I can,
please.
has been on my radar since 2019. I do have what I call property information that I can share with anybody that wants it as a tracker. Since 2019, we have been working on this property. The end of 2019, they were summoned into court for non-compliance. She was given 4 weeks to get into compliance. At the end of 4 weeks, she came back and she was given 2 more months to get rid of the bush pile and the buildings. Then at the end of those 2 months, she didn't appear, so we had to issue another summons. I understand that the property is not where we would like it to be. You know, again, I have talked to Tanya, and I have talked to her mother on a couple occasions. I cannot do anything about the clothes on the porch, but I can't do stuff with the bushes. Last year, in 2021, I got complaints about they had ducks. So they got a letter of violation about ducks, and so they got in compliance with that. And then also in 2021, again, with the complaints from them and from the neighbors, the back of their house had a bunch of dead trees and a bunch of bushes. And the dead trees happened to belong to that property. So we, as the village, took down the dead trees as part of our dead tree ordinance that we do have. She was given that information, and she spent, how long, Brian, 2 years paying off the dead trees? This is the Liberty Street.
Oh, this is
I mean, Mulberry. Mulberry.
At the,
That's the one that's paid.
yeah, I think she has one payment left, but I
No,
believe.
no, she's paid up. So Lydia Maple, that's the one.
Oh,
Remember?
okay, yes, yes,
She is
yes, yes.
paid up,
yes.
so we did have that. So then again, we got another complaint, of course, from the neighbors. And she was sent a letter of violation, that she was in violation. And then we did our inspections and they weren't taken care of. So she has been summoned back into court again. So her court date is 7/19. This is the issue. When you send out, according to the International Property Maintenance Code, you're supposed to send out certified letters. This is why they do not work. Certified letters do not work because if people go, oh, I got a certified letter, they do not have to accept delivery. A lot of times, and this is where I've had a talk with the USPS guy down the street, they sit on the letter. So that letter could be sitting there for 3 or 4 weeks and we don't know it. And we do what we call a property watch list. So when we go out to do our inspections, we have properties that we go past because they've either had previous violations or they've received a letter. You know, we do move them to a closed file after we feel as though they have met compliance. Because the whole 9 yards is that we want them to be in compliance. We're not looking to put people in jail. We're not looking to make big fines. But sometimes to get service, and now we have decided that we very seldom use mail. The police help us to deliver service because it's hard enough to get things done because of the length of time. And this way we at least have service. So this property has been a property that is on our trackers and we're watching. And again, it will be up to the magistrate what she wants to do. The last time she, in 2020, she got suspended $100 of her fine, as long as she stayed in compliance for 60 days. And then she suspended the 10 days in jail and placed her on 2 years probation. I am not sure what the magistrate will do, but it's up to the magistrate on how she wants to,
So she may or may not still be on probation.
that is correct.
Depending on when that court date.
That is correct.
sentencing was.
And it's depending on
2 years from
service.
2020.
And depending on service also. If we can get her served, we get her into mayor's court. That's the other thing. So if she's on a 2-week vacation and we can't serve her, we can't say she,
You might be able to post those.
Well, I'm open to anything. I find, believe it or not, which the International Property Maintenance Code doesn't like, just regular snail mail seems to get to them more than certified. Certified is a waste of the village's money.
But we're using the PB though to handle it.
Sometimes to service, they service, sometimes they have to go a long ways to service, but they have been servicing.
How do you prove snail mail got there?
It doesn't come back.
Well,
So there's rules and it's common in property maintenance. A lot of times though, you send the certified mail and if the certified mail comes back, then you send the regular mail
Yes,
and it's
that's what we do.
presumed to have been delivered so long as it's not returned to sender.
and there's an additional feature, you pay a little extra for, it, but it's a certificate of mailing.
Yes, we do
that
that.
the post office gives you, they don't require a signature to receive that, but they stamp that with their date stamp. that
It's certified
says,
that they delivered it.
This is when you
Yes.
mailed that.
And that's where the issue arises, just what Jeff said. You know, we send out certified, it sits in the post office for a long period of time. We don't know about it. It finally comes back. I mean, sometimes we look at the dates and go, what? You know, because we assume that it was there. And then we go ahead and do the other delivery and we're a month into the process.
The other option to consider is priority mail. Happily, it's $1 more than certified mail, but you can require a signature for it, but you don't have to, because you get delivery confirmation on it.
It's having the police just saying deliver that way they do.
It depends on what their schedules are.
It's just not that
I
big
mean,
a town.
You know, if they have time, they do it, and sometimes they do it at night, like I believe that Officer Holbrook is delivering one tonight.
We found better luck on doing it in the evening.
Yes.
Yeah, people, I mean,
But, you know, it depends on time, you know, that's the other thing. You know, and it depends if they're home at that time too, you know, otherwise they wait till the next day. So this is one of those properties that, you know, like it or not, everybody has property rights, and so we have to follow.
Oh,
that,
absolutely, but
And we have to follow
that
the.
can't right. Is it possible, because I told her that we would talk about it, that we had a meeting tonight. You've got the email, I sent it to you also, and everybody did. Maybe just tell her, you know, she's got a court date or something in writing for her.
I will do that for you. I will do that. I will send out an email tomorrow to say that we are.
I mean, you can
monitoring
plug
this.
it onto what I sent to everybody, that would be great.
Oh, I can send it to everybody?
oh, court date.
Okay, all
And
right.
then
No, I mean Round Robin. That's what I meant. That I'm
I
sending it to
sent-
all the council. She
Tonda
all
sent
the
it to me, or
Okay.
Tonda sent it to all of us, but her, I don't know why.
Council's not discussing it.
council. Okay,
Just don't respond.
all right. so
Yeah,
I'll-
I don't want to respond. I
Respond.
want her to have something official, so it's,
Okay.
So we're not just talking about it, we're doing something.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, I can do that. I'll
She's
take that action.
like throw her butt in jail. I don't know, whatever you want to say.
I can't say that because I don't know what my magistrate is. But I can't do anything about the laundry, trust me.
Oh, I
agree.
agree, yeah.
That's fine.
But
And I even pointed out to Brad about the makeshift solar panel on the top of the roof, and I couldn't do anything about it. So it's
it's
just,
kind of laying there.
yeah,
Well, she could even go to marriage court if she wanted to, but she's a Honda.
She could,
sure.
I will tell you as being a prosecutor knows. I am more annoyed when you show up at court to try to talk to me about it, because I got a lot of other things going on.
Yeah.
As opposed to sending.
I
me-
guess I didn't mean for her to speak, just see with her own eyes. that
Yeah, she
something's
could
being done.
come and watch, but in my experience, they
Yeah.
rarely also just wanna watch.
And mayor's court is really busy. We have a
But-
busy mayor's court.
Contact in, and even if it's an emailed letter to Terry to give to the prosecutor for it. If that's
I
in
can
the
do
file
that.
when you get it, that is, okay, now I've got something else, hey magistrate, you know, I got a resident not even complaining, but here's the letter that they're saying about. it.
Yeah, I just want her to know that,
Take it seriously.
yeah, they've come to us to say something and
It's,
we're gonna do something, or no, or whatever.
Oh, no, we will. We do. I think we have a really good process, but sometimes our hands are just.
Sure.
and the other thing to keep in mind with code cases, because again, I deal with these all the time, is there's never a quick fix.
And
And
then,
it's usually a long and frustrating process.
right,
I've got homes I've been dealing with for 10 years. So, but sometimes it does
something's
work and get you along. Yes.
I'm done. I'm done with all the complaints.
And I got one, and I'll keep mine short. The property there on Summer Choice. Talk about shrubs in front, it's a mess. Driveway is really a mess. I don't know why they don't get gravel in there. And the chicken every evening.
Now, I asked and she said no. So you're
Every
telling me
evening.
they are.
About.
No.
Every hour.
So I will look past them away from the camera, because I had this on North Main Street, and the only way that I could do it was just because it would be there myself with a camera and take a picture. And that went,
Yeah,
and that
chicky
helped with
chicky.
that issue.
Yeah, they're out there eating and I don't. want to go away, But yeah, drive by.
I will. Right, I'll have to check and see if that's on our list, if she has did a violation other than that. I'll look. Because there should be.
Visitors. That's the last call. Anything for the good of the committee or the group? Our next meeting is July 25th at 7:30.
Third seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous voice vote. We are joined. Adjourned at 8:23.
So, there. Yes, I do. I think that you.